Would you believe it? It's a word that I like to use in my agency often. I like us to feel that we're challenged and we're doing stuff. So it's big stuff sometimes. When Ad Age said, oh, you're one of the top 5 most creative agencies in the world, would you believe it? Agents of the Decade, would you believe it? World's leading independent agencies, would you believe it? And, you know, we then start running ads, double-page spreads in magazines like the Cannes Lions Daily. No agency in the world does that. We ran double-page spreads promoting South Africa. Where exactly is the top of the world? Oh, by the way, it's South Africa. When the World Cup was on, it's a pretty good place to be right now. So suddenly we're saying, yeah, would you believe it? Here we are, this tiny little agency, and now we're doing work that's kind of more for the country or for South Africa than it is just for us. You know, last year we even offered, I can't believe this will be leaving my cellar, a case of Bollinger Champagne for the agency that wins the first Cyber Gold at Cannes. And you know, that's another would you believe it moment. Would you believe it that we're actually doing that? And and then Churchill's Chesterfield comes up for auction. Now, if you like Chesterfields, what are you going to do? Unfortunately, you get in a bidding war with an American collector and you end up selling the family silver to buy it. And it was a bit tatty, so it had to be restored. But the point I make is, it's a would you believe it? Would you believe it when we bought the Chesterfield that one day we would have Winston Churchill's Chesterfield in our offices? And that's the thing that I...
Some people prefer foot skating a ramp or, you know, maybe grinding the pavements. But me, I like foot skating in nature. A relationship with nature is actually quite personal. In fact, I don't even like to talk about it, but I will a little bit. You know, when I'm in nature, it's almost like I feel like I'm home. And in fact, in many ways, I am almost home because, I live just down there, near the park.
So, you know, we have guys who say, MTV lets you send ads in, let's do some. So they take a month and they write some ads, and the next thing you know, they're making a movie. Would you believe it? You know, 15% of our awards to date. Would you believe it? And there's this lovely story that David Ogilvy told in his book, I don't know if you're aware of it, where he said, when he has a new manager in one of his offices around the world, he sends them a Russian doll. And when you take one off and the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one, you get down to one tiny one. And when you take that, there's a little scrolled up message. And when you read the message, it says, if we employ people that are smaller than us, we will become a company of dwarfs. But if we employ people that are bigger than us, we will become a company of giants. And the great thing when you have an agency is if you can find people to share that vision and open other offices. And we've been so lucky. We've got amazing people in Cape Town. We've got this incredible guy who's up in Zimbabwe who, he just lives and eats and breathes and sleeps creative work. And you know what's funny is he started from a little house. So the story begins anew. So my point in concluding is, would you believe it is a question you need to be able to ask your agency every single year? You need to be able to say, did we do something this year that when we started we would say, would you believe it? And if it's, would you believe it, we got a finalist at Pendoring, you're not on the right track. It's got to be something, would you believe it, that makes you really excited. And you have to set that bar. You have to be the one that says, what are we going to do next year that's a would you believe it moment? Would you believe it? We have an annual photograph every single year since we started the agency. So we record what we do because brands tell stories. And if you have an agency, as my friends of Joe Public will tell you, we have an obligation to record that story. But you can't live in the past. And this is, I think, my final slide. The one thing I'd say to you about an agency, particularly one that's 15, 20 years old, is you're not Justin Bieber anymore. You're now George Clooney. That's not a bad thing. But you've got to remember that it's all about now. Because the past is just there to inform the present. The present is what will determine the future. And without now, there won't be a future worth having. So my final advice to you is, when you have an agency, however long it goes for, however big it gets, always remember the people you have in it today And the work that you do today is going to be the work that will either make you or break you. And the carousel, you know, Walt Disney said when they interviewed him many years after he opened Disney World, and I'm showing you one of my heroes, Robin Putter, here, because he was the head of a great agency that was very big, still is. And Walt Disney said, you know, they interviewed him 15, 20 years after he opened Disneyland, and he said, it wasn't starting Disneyland that was hard. What was hard was living up to the dream every single day thereafter. And my hat goes off to Robin and to Ogilvy. We lost agency of the decade to them in 2001, and I felt cheated. But when I thought about it, I thought they deserve it because it's hard to make a big agency keep going. And a sense of wonder is what you need. And it's one that we try and have every day. It's a would you believe it thing. And even today, I'm here and I say, would you believe it? Jupiter drawing rooms between Unilever and Google. And it's not Google anymore, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, would you believe it? And it's still the same excitement and it's still the same thrill. Thank you very much indeed.